Okay, we're just going to jump into part 2 here. That one stopped on me here, but we're going to try to get through this as quick as possible if we can. Maybe this one will only go 15-20 minutes. To validate this point, Africa before Arab, Greco-Assyrian, and Ascetic invasions, Africans were still genetically and phenotypically diverse. These patterns revealed by the new study support the idea that humans originated in Africa, then Caucasians spread into the Middle East, followed by Europe and Asia, the Pacific Islands, and finally into the Americas. Scientists, so they want to claim that everybody was an African and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, Caucasians were all endemic, so yeah, so really now you don't even have a claim to your own home country, but you've sat and bragged about it. Seriously, logic sometimes just hurts. So I also want to debunk Caucasian backflow theory. Oh no, he won't be able to do that. There are far too many genetic papers that black people won't read through the long words on. Not to sound terrible when I say that, but I mean, just they're not going to read this long drawn out yap. I mean, seriously, they give you 3 pages worth of information, could have been done in 2 paragraphs, but they draw it all out, showing you all of these things and stuff, and you have to write it that way. I've done research, and it's terrible how many. It's why you don't see me do so many ibids and everything. I'm so sick of it. You know. But and hey, now I've become a source. Just what the hell. I also want to debunk the Caucasian backflow theory by presenting biological studies that proves there were tropical black Africans that only migrated back to Africa, not Caucasians. So now he's saying Caucasians never came back into Africa, but it was only blacks that came back into Africa. And what did they do? Walk past the primordial Caucasians that were there and sneak on past and then run down into Sub-Sahara? Is that where he's trying to go with this? I don't know, but it's pathetic. Let's continue. He wants to prove it. So we're waiting. Prove that. Oh, he's going to show the same damn picture of the debunked thing right here. Oh, darkly pigmented and all this stuff. Not necessarily, blah, blah, blah. Evolution of humans. Caucasian Egyptians. And hey, man, I've got videos. There's this one Bob Breyer. He actually mummified a pale Caucasian guy, and he ended up turning damn near tar black before he was mahogany. And they didn't even shellac him down whenever they did the thing like they used to do it and stuff off of it. And yeah, here's a tree that shows you that European, East African, Asian people come out of here. West African, and New Guinea, Australian are way up here. The Negroids are way up here, and the Egyptians are way down here on his own chart. You know, so Brace, and I saw Brace's name on there. You don't want to go there. He tells you exactly the opposite of what he's trying to say, unless you're trying to say North African Caucasians every time you're mentioning these black people, and to do so would be ignorant of the facts. Yep, that's what he's trying to say here, and that makes it ignorant of the facts. Yep. Limb studies show early Euros were tropically adapted like Africans. No, we show cold adaptation, and we actually show that the Egyptians are cold adapted and the Nubians are the warm or tropical adapted people, but North Africans are more warm adapted than the people that are up north and say Scandinavians, and I'll be damned if that doesn't make sense. Not by much, just a little bit. African genetic diversity, implications for human demographic history, modern human origins, and complex disease mapping by Michael C. Campbell and Sarah A. Tishkoff. Comparative studies of ethnical diverse human populations, particularly in Africa, are important for reconstructing human evolution history and for understanding the genetic basis of phenotype, adaptation, and complex disease. African populations are characterized by greater levels of genetic diversity, yeah, of course, extensive population substructure, and less linkage disequilibrium. So, in other words, a lot of the black people aren't really connected totally. You know, like up in Europe, and it seems to be just this blend that goes through because of the Proto-Indo-European blend. It doesn't really happen in Africa so much, and they want to note this, and they show the differences in it. But black people say, oh, that means this, and it's like, that's not what that means at all. Anyhow, among loci compared to non-African populations, Africans also possess a number of genetic adaptations that have evolved in response to diverse climates and diets, as well as exposure to infectious diseases. And they also have a ghost hominid in them, like in Neanderthal, which shows up in them at a higher rate than common Caucasians have of Neanderthal, 1 to 4%. But pathetically, in a lot of these, we're either called an albino or a Neanderthal, because they have to grip back at somebody that primitive to try to talk crap about somebody whenever they were found in dung huts and illiterates and pretty much didn't have much until just recently, and now they want to act like this. All of the people in this are really Caucasians. We've shown this before. Cheddar Man here, the Iceman Utsi, for Christ's sake, Varna, Bulgaria, I've shown in the red ochre burial sites and its symbology that carries through the Caucasians, Neanderthals, and Cro-Magnon man. Stinky Man I did in a video here, and Sungir. Both of these on the, it was the realhistory.www.com site that had the racist lies that, oh, they're black. So this guy's just following on that same idea. And here we show the Proto-Indo-European blend that had nothing to do with black people whatsoever. But they try so hard to interject themselves. And in doing so, it's racist as hell. And the way they go about it is terrible, as you can see. By the way, craniofacial criteria are no longer universally accepted as reliable indicators of population grouping for ethnicity. Oh, that's bullshit. No, people that are good at this craniometry can literally just walk up and see at a glance. They can lean down at a crime scene of a dug-up skull, and they can be like, hey, this is it's a black man. He's probably in his late teens to early 20s. They can do that just by about that quick, too. They can tell you more about him. Oh, this is not real recent, and so on, and they have to go from there and go from there and go from there. But they can do that at almost that rate, right there, just that quick. Walk up and just pow, pick somebody out. Now, I have seen this exact phrase used before, and used before correctly, because if you were to find populations in a graveyard in, say, like, I don't know, America or up in Europe today, where you might end up with some Middle Eastern people from the Middle East just a generation ago, a lot of the migrants that are coming in there, which I don't want to even go in, and black people and so on, then you'd be like, oh, here's the population. You'd be like, no, that's not the population, and therefore it's really not a reliable indicator anymore of a brand new. But then again, up until recently, it's an extremely good indicator, and also it's still an indicator of what ethnicity that person is at a glance. So he tries to deny science, as they usually do. By the way, craniofacial criteria and craniometry was what was used to help make the depictions that he talked about. So if he's going to debunk them as BS, then he just debunked his own stuff. Well, in reality, it's still used, and that was really not a very good model of the person that it was trying to depict, especially the width of the nose as being as wide as the mouth. When the nasal slit was so slender, you wouldn't have been able to breathe out the holes. I've got it in a couple of videos that I've got, but anyhow, who were the earliest modern human beings? Well, the earliest modern humans are looked at as being like right in the Cro-Magnon time. In fact, their DNA and genetic alleles and haplogroups are still extant right now, so it seems like that's your first or earliest modern humans. And again, Negroes are proto at just past 4600 BC, and 9100 BC is the oldest one we found there. So I think that points to one thing, although ancient Homo sapiens have been found in North African caves like Jebel Irhoud, 315,000 BC now. Just recently found another body, or the paper came out. They found it almost a year ago. I did a video when they did that and said, waiting for the info. Well, there was the info. So it's increasingly difficult to deny that they were Africans. Yeah, Africans, but not Negroids, not sub-Saharan Negroids. Body proportions of early European Homo sapiens suggest a tropical adaptation and support an African origin, McBreedy and Brooks. Well, yeah, whenever you look at the most primordial coming out, are we talking about recent? Or are we talking about proto people? Because around the last ice age, you would have had that effect of people coming down and living at the equator, and they're more warm adapted than people that are cold. You see what I'm saying here? If you don't, then we're lost. Anyhow, let's just continue. Well, he puts a longer time on this. So, and to put an end or dismiss the whitewashing of Cushites who ruled Egypt. Oh yeah, the late Cushite dynasty is, Cushites were Caucasians, and they utilized the Nubians in their war against them. In fact, it's well attested. Went down there and even burnt the guy alive in the Delta and stuff. The leader that was down there at the time and stuff caused a big problem, and it only lasted 70 years and kicked out. But whenever they did the statues up there, they made them look not so Egyptian. They made them look more like the Nubian type people to keep them subjected. They even did that at a few of the places up there, like the ones that they moved for the dam that came in. You can look at those, and you look at the ones that they depict, and it's kind of a little bit more Nubian in the Nubian area. Yeah, to kind of help subject them. They're kind of like, hey. But anyhow, so there's the bust of Taharka, and I think everybody knows that happened, but they weren't the Egyptians. They were the illegitimate dynasty, they call it, in the 25th dynasty, very late. The earliest people I've already showed you with their blue eyes and blonde hair and red hair and so on. Ramses had red hair, so this is not anything. And by the way, West African primitives have no connection to any of these people here that were Nubians. Yeah, that guy has somewhat Negroid features, but he's not Negroid West African. Well, according to most white people, East Africans are white, including the ancient African civilizations like Kush, Nubia, and etc. Well, the original Nuba was actually one of the Egyptian towns in there, not Nubia, and that's where that came from, because it was a gold town. I showed this in my Sumerian video, where it shows the Sumerians coming in, and there was 2 places there that were named. One was Nuba. It's right there off of Egypt, and then, or right there off the Nile. And then they started calling the land out there that had the gold in it Nubians. And then the black people came into that area, and because they were in that area, they called them by that name. It's that simple and stuff. But Cushites and the Cushites of the Bible, that's not Negroids in any way. And the Ethiopians they talk about in the Bible, that's still not Negroids in any way. And right now, when we look at the people of Ethiopia, those are now somewhat Negroid admixed, but they weren't in ancient times. Now, I pulled up one of 7P7's videos, and it has the genetic thing where it shows they actually crossed, and it'll probably time out before it has a chance, but it's right here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Super Egyptian. And this shows the early migration and backflow. Ancient Ethiopian genome reveals extensive here. Here's the people that went through it, and others et al. He does it too fast. You can pause it and see, but Egyptian Moda Man, 4,500 years ago. I did one about this. Black people went crazy on my video. But it shows an early backflow, and it shows backflow of Caucasian flow in there. And then I did one recently that's getting a lot of attention. That's about the ancient Khoisan, and how the Khoisan also have a Eurasian, or what would be Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, Proto-Indo-European admix coming into them way back when. It's archaic. It's not something that happened recently. It shows in their genome tract like it happened way back here, 3000 BC, 3500 BC. Of course, I made the video about it, and black people started going crazy, and these black people that are going crazy aren't even related to the Khoisan, but they get crazy. Next thing you know, they start calling you all kinds of names. So I follow suit, and I just go back with them. Hell, if they want to play baseball, I'll throw rocks back at your ass. I'm not going to sit and play stupid games with people. Anyhow, This plainly shows here the admix that had gone with these people and changed and done so. And so Motoman, let's see here. And all this is going to be, yeah, if I look through here, it's all just admix and showing clusters and so on. And where does this Eurasian admix cluster at? Oh, it clusters back in that Horn of Africa I was talking about. Oh man, so sad. But okay, so what is this Ari culture? These Aryans, these Ari guys, and they're red. Where's it showing? Oh man, there it is. Modeling of the Ari. Oh, let's see what's the R, the river R. The Egyptian Nile used to be called the R, and it starts way up here and it goes way down. And they used to say they came from up here, but it wasn't that damn far. But then again, Punt is supposed to be right here, or it might be here, or it might be over here leading up into Sumeria, where they originally came from there. Anatolia. Wow. Neolithic farmers, backflow, implying the backflow came from the same genetic source that fueled Neolithic expansion into Europe. Near East Anatolia. Yeah, guys, anyhow, I think that's just going to about do us here. But if you look here, you can see that they just keep telling you there was some backflow, that they've actually found this. It's not something you can find on a piece of pottery, although you can find that. What you really find it now in is genetics, when somebody can finally get the genes out of the genome out of these people once they find them. Yep, Eurasians were in Egypt well before any Bantu expansion. The Eurasian farmers' migrations to Ethiopia bringing their crops and cattle, and that's where I keep showing you the cattle came from. Genetics show that those cattle come from Sumeria and Upper Anatolia area, like cattle Hoyuk, and the places where cattle farming and the origin of farming life began and spread throughout all of the Middle East, which was a hub in the center at one time before now it turned all to crap and has really turned into a desertified area because people used up all the wood in the area living and kind of ruined it. And so those people kind of moved on to greener pastures, and that was north. But like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy, guys. I've got a lot more to say, but we'll just catch it on another video. Peace.